Introduction, Dr. Adriana, or would you like to go?
I
know
give
you prepared one, so go for
Yeah,
it.
go for it.
Yeah, or we could ask Candice to make one up for you. That was hilarious before. I do appreciate that. Listen, everybody, if for those who know, you know, and for those who don't know yet, Dr. Adriana James is, besides being a personal friend and a great mentor, a great influence on my own personal life and in recreating the life that I actually wanted from the one that was great but wasn't the one that I actually wanted, which I'll be forever grateful for. Dr. Adriana is an author, master trainer. You know, she was born in a poor Eastern European country in Romania and began her education at the age of 3 when she learned how to read and write. And by the age of 7, she'd won her first national competition as a prodigy violinist, which was only the beginning of a stunning and rapid advancement. So she would go on to receive a master's degree in classical music, specializing in violin performing. And it looked as if her success was absolutely assured. But years later, having left Romania and after taking all her trainings with Dr. Tad James, Adriana left the world of classical music to open her own NLP training company in Sydney, and continued her studies in alternative modes of consciousness, for which she received a PhD. Today, Adriana is a master trainer of NLP and timeline therapy and hypnosis, and master trainer of NLP coaching, a master trainer, and she's earned an international recognition. What can we say in this new field and this new endeavor? And she's one of the most successful women in NLP master trainers in the world. In 2001, she married Dr. Tad James, with whom she traveled the world teaching all levels of trainings, from the most basic to the most advanced, for the next 20 years. She's developed NLP coaching trainers training and a new technique in timeline therapy, adding to the series of techniques which make timeline therapy unparalleled in its uniqueness and potency in assisting people to let go of the blockages from the past. Adriana has also developed marketing for NLP training, designed to give NLP practitioner, master practitioner coaches, as well as NLP trainers, the understanding necessary to market themselves successfully. Adriana has published a best-selling book, Values in the Evolution of Consciousness, a book about how to take advantage of the massive changes which the world is going through, and more importantly, how to negotiate successfully the shifting landscape between where we are now and where we're going. She's also published a book called Timeline Therapy and Timeline Therapy Made Easy, and Ancient Hawaiian Huna, which focuses on the ancient ways of spirituality. Aside from all these teaching trainings in NLP, TLT, hypnosis, and all these things, Adriana's main dedication in life is the love towards the evolution of human consciousness, for which she teaches a series of trainings named appropriately the Accelerated Personal Evolution Program. People, I give to you the one and only, the amazing Dr. Adriana James. You have the floor.
Well, thank you, Mark. I hope I can live to your introduction now. Thank you, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, where you are in the world. It's really wonderful to be here with all of you. Unfortunately, I have a lot of placeholders because the camera is not turned on, so I can't see you directly. But if I could ask you, if you are around the computer, to turn your cameras on, it would be much nicer. Anyway, so today and yesterday, we've had a lot of marvelous speakers, company founders, business owners, trainers, coaches, martial arts heavy duties, successful entrepreneurs, speaking to you about different aspects, different ways of implementing and using the skills they acquired in these fields that we call hypnosis or timeline therapy or NLP trainings and in coaching. And I must only say how proud I am of them, because although they are independent businesses, not related to me in any form, many of them are my graduates. And I read a few, maybe half a year ago, a few months I wanted to say, maybe half a year ago, that a master is not a master because he or she is reached a level of masterful skill or anything like this. But in terms of the meaning of one master's life is how many masters a master produces. And that's beyond just doing it, passing it on. So you heard presentations on so many different areas where hypnosis and trance and timeline therapy and even NLP, and I hope you figure out that all these can be used successfully for so many areas. Let's talk about business. Yeah, they're just the cold-headed AD business, or relieving stress, or healing. Mark just talked about healing, performance enhancement, even spirituality, my friends. Because in general, bettering yourself and others as human beings is all there is, isn't it? At least I think. So we had all those wonderful presenters talk and share their knowledge and expertise, and I think it was just wonderful to be part with them in this wonderful event. So it's not immediately obvious, at least to me. Let me simplify this, how to put it. Every one of these people, me included, by the way, we are all driven by something common to all of us, although we are doing it in all our own ways. It doesn't rob us of our individuality. And it's, by the way, not the drive for fame and money, although nothing wrong with making money. This is a very prosperous field, but it's something bigger than that. Somehow, we all share something that's beyond business alone, and I hope you heard this, because it was like a theme of these 2 days. There is some sort of a call that drives us all to do what we're doing. First for ourselves, because it always starts with you, by the way, and then to share and teach others what we've learned. Pass it on, pass on the knowledge. How do I know that? Because we wouldn't be doing what we're doing, my friends. And you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. You got that thing as well inside you. Because there are other ways of making money. Maybe more money than in this business. There is something else very special that unites us all. The world is changing. Did you notice that? How many people have noticed the world is changing? Raise your hand if you did. Let me know. Okay, good. Good, because if you didn't, you may be sleeping under a rock. And there are people who do sleep under a rock, so deep trance, by the way. And the world will keep changing, by the way. It will keep changing on an accelerated pace for at least the next 6 to 10 years. It will. Trust me on this one. Absolutely. Because we're going through a massive values transition the world has never seen. I'm going to say this again. We're going through a massive values transition the world has never seen, at least in our recorded history. That's all I'm saying. So whoever didn't notice this, as I said, probably sleeping under a rock, but you are definitely not. And it's easy, at least, it's easy to know exactly what's happening and where the world is going. Because once you understand the values transition, and watching the presentations before, not watching your reaction, I know many of you are already trained to understand the values levels transition, because we're all undergoing it. And this is an Unchained plug-in for my book. I wrote a 600-page book on values, by the way. And I wrote it because I really believe that your understanding, and I mean truly understanding the transition that's happening, which is values level 4 to 5, will assist you to figure out where we are and what the future brings. In fact, one of the gifts I'm happy to make available to you after this conference is a self-evaluation values test, by the way, online. I published the book in 2017. And I described exactly what's happening now. And it's not future predicting. I didn't have a crystal ball, none of that. Because it's just the normal evolution of all of us. Mark was talking about all of us as humankind. That's what I mean. And that transition is much of it, and at least, is being driven by technology. So noticing the everything becoming more and more relegated to technology, including many of people's thinking, mark my words, the first question I'd like to ask you to ask yourselves is that, is hypnosis still relevant? Please don't rush to say either yes or no. The answer is not immediately obvious. You heard the presentation yesterday from Kai about whether AI is replacing the live humans in doing hypnosis. So I'm not going to go into that, although I have my own conclusions on this subject. AI is very useful in the systems area of any business, by the way. I've even seen ChatGPT describing timeline therapy, and by the way, all is wrong. Very sloppy language. Language. Our middle name in NLP is linguistics. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing timeline therapy live trainers training this year, by the way. ChatGPT has driven me to it. So see, AI is important. That has warned me 20 years ago that if I don't watch out and train the timeline therapy trainers and practitioners correctly, with a lot of emphasis on language, timeline therapy will become unrecognizable very, very quickly. Just a nice fuzzy-wuzzy technique, but it will lose its importance for which it's been designed, to assist people to change their lives. There is no other technique like timeline therapy in the world, my friends. There are lots of timelines, timeline this, timeline that, because the notion of timeline is not new. It's been around since Aristotle, right? But one of my purposes, I'm not going to talk about that now, but one of my purposes for this short talk is to share with you what I've experienced, my mistakes, some of my mistakes, and some of the most important learnings that I had in this field, with the hopes of inspiring you, because you are all my colleagues in this field, and maybe saving you from making the same mistakes. So if it's okay with you, what I'd like to do now, the next half an hour or so before we end this wonderful event, and by the way, I want you to put your hands together, even if you don't hear your clapping, for Candace and Sophie for putting together such a fantastic event. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, everybody who participated. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. Thank you. Very, very grateful. So I would like to share with you some of my experiences from my now over, well, years of experience. Over 25, my friends, in this field of hypnosis, NLP, and timeline therapy. And some of the mistakes I made, and some of my top lessons. Because, yeah, I have to admit, I've been around the block a few times. Is that okay for everyone, by the way? That okay? Okay, good. So I will share the only slide I reverted to. I had 2 or 3, but then I prepared one for you. We'll go through it, and then I'm going to unpack everything for you. Okay, I believe it's on your screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Can everybody see my slide? Okay, good, great. So first of all, knowledge and skills are irreplaceable. This is my theme for today. Knowledge and skill are irreplaceable. I'm going to unpack every one of them. So I'm just going to read them now. Then I'm going to take this off the screen, and then we talk about each and every one of them. Number 1 is do something you like and to do, and thus feel that your work matters, because this leads to purpose. The second question to ask yourself is, where are you? Why are you here in this field? Why are you here in this field? Why hypnosis? Why timeline therapy? Why NLP? B is be consistent and patient, right time, right place. C, your words have power. Be mindful of what words you're using. It can make the difference into changing another person's life. I'm going to tell you each and every one of them how it works. And number D, what's your, not mine, not somebody else's, your greatest accomplishment and what made you achieve it. Number 3, mainly linguistically, learn to see through and stay away from media hypnosis. Number 4, you have 2 commodities in life, time and energy, both in limited supply, by the way. Number 5, focus on knowledge and never stop learning. Number 6, talk truth. Number 7, you can't be average and exceptional at the same time. This bears repeating, by the way. You can't be average and exceptional at the same time. And finally, make up your mind quickly and stick with your decision. These are some of my important learnings. I'm going to stop sharing now so I can talk to you directly. Okay, good. If I'm looking that way, it's not kind of ignoring you, but when I had the slide up, I have a big monitor screen here, so I'm looking at it. So speaking of learning, right? So maybe by now you know that, from the introduction at least, that I've been born in Romania. And Romania was one of the poorest countries in Eastern Europe, even in the Eastern Bloc. Only Bulgaria was at the level of Romania. And when I mean poor, poverty means you don't have food. There is nothing on the shelves. You don't have warmth. There is no warm water to take a shower, and there is no warm in the apartment to heat in the little itty-bitty apartment. So my country of birth is Romania, and although I left many, many, many years ago, I still remember the childhood and my very young years, because they marked the rest of my life, as did yours. It was a socialist republic where at the time the best one could hope for was to study well in school, maybe get a degree, and then a governmental job. There was no such thing as a corporation, as a private business, and no, nothing. It was just governmental job. And theoretically, it was called a democracy, my friends, but practically it was anything but. It was an authoritarian, iron fist rule from a delusional dictator with a severe cult of personality. That's what it was. The media hypnosis, even then, what I call the media hypnosis, was big because all you can read was how great is everything's happening and how free we are and how wonderful Romania is doing, and we were poorer than dirt. We didn't have the right to own a passport. So what are we talking about? In fact, the country was never poor in resources, and that's the paradox. Because Romania was rich in oil, in gas, in rich agricultural fertile soil, extremely fertile soil, animal husbandry, high quality winelands, natural beauty of, we had mountains, rolling hills, and the Black Sea, by the way. Rivers rich in all kinds of fish. So us, the population, should have never been poor. But alas, we were unbelievably poor. But at least we were equal. Yep, there was equality between all of us. Well, some of us were a little bit more equal than others, as the hidden elite group at the top, but the rest of us, we were all equal. And I'm going to tell you how that equality worked. We were equally hungry and equally poor. Oh, well, what do you want? And Romania's resources were always coveted by big empires. And it's just a tiny, a few minutes, little lesson in the history of Eastern European, the only Eastern European Latin-speaking country, because Romania is not a Slavonic country. In all that bloc, we have the same Latin alphabet as we use in English, or in French, or Italian, or Spanish. And here is why. At the beginning of the first millennium, so that was like almost 2,200 years ago, right? There were the Roman Empire, and they conquered the territory which was at the time called Romania. But it wasn't called Romania. Romania became later on as a unified. There was an area where I believe Eugen talked about it, where, you know, the indigenous people called the Thracians or Dacians, yeah? And these were the names of the people there who dwelled there. And this area later would become 3 principates. One of them was Wallachia, which was south of the Carpathian Mountains to the Black Sea. And another one was Transylvania. Yeah. The same one with Count Dracula, you know. And this is where I'm coming from, actually. I promise you I don't grow teeth. Nah, I don't do that. Although I'm coming from that area. And in the first century, our current era, the territory was invaded by the Roman legions. And there were some brutal wars, by the way, for several years. And the Thracians and the Dacians, they were fierce warriors, by the way, and very proud warriors, who were willing to die for protecting their land and their values. And they put up a great resistance to the Roman armies, but the sheer number and force of the Roman legions eventually captured the lands, taking slaves, and every resource the empire needed, which was pretty much everything. Now, after about 200-300 years of Roman occupation, the territory now called Romania had to struggle with other types of invasions, from hordes of migratory people coming from Asia or even from Northern Europe, invasion. Each of them, of course, had one grand purpose. What is an invasion for? Pillaging and plundering, right? It's just pretty much the purpose of that. But that wasn't enough, because in the north was the great Polish Empire, regularly waging war against the third principality, which was called Moldavia. And around the year 1200, the Ottoman Empire, the Turks, started encroaching more and more into Romanian territories. Again, same purpose, pillaging, plundering, taking slaves, taking resources, eventually everything establishing full control over the leadership until, my friends, the end of 1800s. So genealogically, think of timeline therapy, the genealogical line, yeah? And although I don't believe in genetics, genealogically, the people of the place in the world I'm coming from had a bad set of memories, if you want to say it this way, in their timelines. Because the memories transmitted from generation to generation were those of being conquered and not submitting, taken into slavery, pillaged by different empires and powers. You know? Alas, the three principalities of Moldavia, Wallachia, and Transylvania, they united, declared independence in 1878. But one thing also was transmitted genealogically. The population of the old Dacians and Thracians was very rebellious and difficult to govern, even by the local rulers. When you grow up with this genealogy, by the way, it's transmitted unconsciously. People are not conscious of this. Most people, that is. But you have two choices. What do you have? Either you submit to everything that the regime, whoever the regime is, demands from you in the moment, so you're allowed to live, or rebel. I chose to rebel. And for those of you who understand values levels, we understand at the time who's rebelling in terms of values levels, who's the black sheep always? Values level 3. So I chose to rebel. So I was still very young. I left Romania with 2 good friends, 2 suitcases, and a violin, and about 50 Deutschmark in the pocket. What I was armed with, though, was knowledge and skill. Knowledge and skill are irreplaceable, remember? It was on my slide. Speaking of which, by the way, skill, that is, yeah? My grandmother, with whom I grew up, was relentless in me being an A+ student. And winning every competition I took part in, and I did 17 years of competitions, national and international. And I hated those days, with passion, by the way, because I never had a vacation. Imagine a kid that never has vacation. I never played with other kids or anything else, because I never had time. But only when I grew older, I recognized that I owe her everything. Because knowledge and skill are irreplaceable, my friends. If everything, by the way, this is not a suggestion, everything you have and you're always safe financially, emotionally, mentally, physically, and so on and so forth. This is just a metaphor. But if everything is taken away from you, and I had moments like this in my life, what's the only thing that cannot be ever taken away? Your skills and depth of knowledge, because they make you independent and in control of your life. AI or no AI, technology, transhumanism, anything else doesn't matter. And that's one of the themes of this conference, interestingly enough. It's the same thing when you do trainings or see clients, or you do it just for you. Be it NLP or timeline therapy or hypnosis or all of those together, because they are all related, by the way. Knowledge and skills are irreplaceable assets. Nobody can ever take away from you. We all think that what we own and our possessions make us who we are. Mistake. So first lesson I'd like to share with you on top of this grand one is to, and it was number one on that slide, which I'm not going to put up again, by the way, is make sure that whatever you do, it's not about, so there are three things, being, doing, and having, yeah? I'm not talking about who you are, although I'm leading there, but what you do. Let me see how to put this. Do something you like to do and thus feel that your work matters. Because only in this way you will enjoy your days of work. The effort that you need to put in. By the way, this is a field where you put in a lot of effort, and all our presenters can attest to that. In order to be productive and be happy to put that effort, do something you like to do, because only like this you will know you have a purpose. A life without a purpose is no life. At the end of it, you'll have one thing that I hope I'll never have. I made mistakes, I don't regret them. But if I didn't have a purpose and a meaning, that would be a long life, because then I'll have, you know what? Can you guess? Regret. If I'd only ... That's no life. Number two questions I want to ask yourself. You can write them down if you will. First of all, why are you here? Not here in the conference. Why are you here? And you can change that however you want. But let's talk now in this field. Why are you here in this field? Why hypnosis? Why are you attracted to this? Why timeline therapy? Why NLP? I mean, you could have done anything else, right? See, because without something that's something deeper than just that, because I want to make money, because whatever, it must be something deeper than that inside of you, that intrinsic motivation that's going to help you to stay with it in the face of any challenges. Any challenges. And some people, when I ask this question, I just did coaching recently with a 17-year-old. It was interesting, by the way, very good hockey player. And some people I talked to said to me, because I love people, and I love the fact that I can do something to restore power and trust and hope and joy in the lives of others. By the way, great. That's a wonderful answer. Some others would say, because I'm concerned about the stress level and worries and concerns of people, and this work is good for everyone, and it's immediate and actionable relief. So something that they can take and use now, immediately. Good, that's a great reason, by the way, too. Some people will say, because I just love to be a part of the newest, latest, greatest technology, which still remain human, meaning not machine-based, yeah? And it's more than just algorithms and nodes and numbers and computer language and computer code, and it's very ecological, they say. And by the way, that's a very fine answer as well. But what's important is for you to find for yourself with this question. Don't be in a rush to answer, by the way. Because if you're looking at this field of NLP, timeline therapy, hypnosis, as just having a job, You are going to work way too hard, and the world is not going to wait for you. One of the first things actually I learned in this field was that flexibility, that's the adaptation. Mind you, I'm not saying rush. No. Adaptation doesn't mean rush. And sometimes, actually, your patience will be stretched, very stretched. But your adaptation, willing to leave the old established ways of whatever you're doing, whatever you are having and whatever you are being, is the key to controlling the system. What's the system I'm talking about? Your life. I'm a big picture person, so I don't bother with details, right? I'm going straight to your life. Now, I notice I said patience. I didn't mean laziness. I didn't mean sitting on the fence and waiting for something to happen and not taking any action. In fact, if you've taken trainings with me, you know that I beat this horse all the time, taking action as the importance of it. And sometimes, you'd like to have finished, at least if you're like me, you'd like to have things finished and ready yesterday. But the world around you may not move as fast. What do I mean by world around you? Your people in your immediate environment, your people you work with, your people in your community. So patience in the right time, right place. These are important words. Right time and right place are very important. And this is one of the principles that Ted told me from the very beginning. Be patient. There is always a right time and right place. It comes from ancient Hawaiian Huna, as taught by Ted in our school. So remember this, right time and right place. He was on the slide. By the time I was unconsciously already searching for NLP and timeline therapy and hypnosis, because the search started unconsciously for me. I wasn't, I think I've learned about this NLP is the greatest and whatever, and I'm going to do it. No. The search for something else started unconsciously. Then I bumped into NLP, and then I bumped into timeline therapy, and then I bumped into hypnosis. But the search precedes the technologies. Because at the time, I was very unhappy with myself and everything I've done. I wasn't good, by the way, it was a mistake. That sucked. Mind you, 17 years of successful competitions, immigrating successfully through Germany to Australia, having a great position in Australian orchestra, having to work of, oh, poor me, at the iconic building, the Sydney Opera House, were not in my mind at the time. I was discarding all that. And I was sad, and I was depressed, and I was frustrated, you name it, right? By all means, I should have been happy. Mark my words. I'm using that advisably. Should have been happy. But I wasn't. Yep, I was actually talking to this lady that actually got me into an NLP. And for about 45 minutes to a full hour, she listened. She didn't say a word. She listened very quietly, never interrupting to me, complaining and, pardon my words, really bitching about, how miserable my world, and feeling so sorry about myself, about how my life and my misfortunes and this and that and the other. So I was saying to her that I should be happy, and I was beating myself up, another thing that's not good. And count my blessings for being so fortunate to work when I was working, and yet I felt like every time I was going to work, I felt like I had the knife in my back, and they were turning it slowly, and extremely painfully. And at the end, I was sincere, by the way. I wasn't making it up. That's how I felt at the time. And at the end of my all sincere lamentation, she asked me one question, my friends, that changed my whole life. Be careful with your words. That's the lesson I'm sharing with you here. And by the way, would you like to know what was that question? Would that help? Because that question was, she said to me, okay, you told me everything that doesn't work very well and all the problems you're having. And this was the question. Here it comes. What would you like to do instead? And I didn't. I had a very fuzzy-wuzzy idea. Language again. of something better, a better life, more happiness, more money. How much more? 5 cents more is more money. What does it mean, more happiness? I didn't know even how to think. And I'm a thinker. You figured out I'm not a feeler, I'm a thinker. And I thought I knew, but I didn't. That's another lesson. Not only for you, but for every client or student you have. They think they know. They don't. If they knew, they will be where you are, or better. That's why they're there in front of you. That's how you can help them. This is an NLP question. What would you like to do instead? I didn't know it was NLP, of course. It's actually very good in hypnosis as well. What would you like instead of this and that and the other? I didn't know that at the time. So lessons, sometimes a simple question can make the most difference in the life of a stranger, because I was a stranger to her. And yet that question showed me that I don't know. And it turned around all my life because I changed careers. I became an NLP trainer. So my point here is to ask you, what's your greatest accomplishment and what made you achieve it so far? And don't ever discard it. And it does not matter what your accomplishment was. I want you just to consider it and remember it. And especially, how did you get there? Because if you do, you can make the same thing in this field. To be successful, see, people had the ability to persevere. People who had this ability, who had the ability to accomplish something, anything, have the happiest and most fulfilling lives. You have accomplished something so far. Each and every one of you. Remember that time. Remember that moment. Because you already have the strategy. That's why I'm saying. If you have the strategy in doing it in somewhere else, you can do it anywhere else. The next thing I learned in time during all these years, this is probably one of the most important of all, was to see through and stay away from media hypnosis. Kim started the conference yesterday by talking about 3 seconds attention span. That's media, by the way. That's what media has done to us by the social media and the enormous amount of information that's plopping onto us, our lives every day. Yeah. Social media has managed to achieve this in a very short time, by the way. A decade ago, we didn't have this problem. But now we do. Because the increasing speed in our technology of automation has changed us as what has changed me. I don't know, I'm old enough to remember, and maybe some of you remember, there used to be the websites. They used to have, you scroll down, and it's text, copy. Who reads that nowadays? Who has the patience to do? I don't. I'm going to a website to research something. If I lost more than 3 seconds. 3 seconds, I have to admit. But about 30 seconds, let's say, if I don't find what I need, I'm out. I'm somewhere else. I do it. The media has changed us. Then the years of COVID were so far the kind of the cherry on the sundae cake, right? In media hypnosis. Locked in the house, people have very much time to rely on social media. It's changed us. It made us okay to do coaching and trainings online. In fact, it's more and more fashionable. And the connections people had face-to-face are now acceptable to have online. That's adaptation, my friends, and flexibility. Because there were people who said, I'm never going to do coaching online. I'm never going to see clients online. People don't want to do this online. I'm never going to take a training live. I guess what? You will. You can't walk against the world. Whether we like it, it's not about liking or not liking. It's simply observing where the world is going. See, the awareness I got, that's another lesson. was how noticed in media hypnosis. It's how easy actually it is to get sucked in by social media. The habitual clicking to, mindlessly scrolling and all this. Why do we do this, by the way? There are many reasons. Some people don't want to miss out. What if I miss out something important? Or we're just curious to read about the latest gossip about our friends and or celebrities or God knows what, sports, or we find refuge. Oh, this is a problem. We find refuge from the problems we're dealing with in life. I'm mindlessly scrolling so I don't have to occupy my life with dealing with the real problems. Or maybe, post a picture of our latest dinner because we think anybody else cares about what we eat. But it makes us feel better about ourselves when we have a heart or a, thumbs up. Come on, let's. So we mindlessly scroll and scroll. And we're saying to ourselves, oh, only 5 minutes. Only to find ourselves still scrolling 1 hour later. Tell me you've never done this because I don't believe you. Because I know you have. I have too. So probably there are general reasons why so many people do this. But ultimately it differs from person to person. And the common thing is that this is all trance. This is all hypnosis. Because in that moment is the lack of awareness of ourselves. And our wonderful presenters have talked about awareness of ourselves. Because we go internal. We scroll, and we are just in this bubble. And we lose the sense of time, the urgency to get our to-dos done. That's what's happening. Looking at people's behaviors, you see, when they keep scrolling, just look at them. Just look at somebody with these new eyes. And you see them scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and you see them everywhere, by the way. It's not like you have to search for these people, right, or walk on the street, right? They are in altered state of consciousness. Watch them. It's a trance-like state that completely steals your focus, attention, and slowly, this is the worst case scenario, we become addicted. Addicted to what? Because we can, if I was to talk about science, right? And many of you, I know already what I'm about to say. It's the dopamine rush. That's the chemical. Okay, we can talk about the desire for information. Yeah, that's one of the things that drives me. Because for centuries, we human beings were starved for information. For centuries, until when Gutenberg invented his printing press, right? A very small, selected class of people had access to information. And then the first book printed and in circulation was, the Bible, right? But then there were no other books. Until then, there were no books. The population at large was illiterate. And this gave birth knowledge, yeah? Because a population illiterate gave birth to atrocities. As the witch trials, the Salem trials, and beliefs like all disease is spirit possession. And if you had any health ailment, you had to suffer because you were possessed. We know now to be wrong. That has been a result of the lack of knowledge and information. The lack of knowledge, in other words, sheer stupidity, if I may say it straight, leads to disasters. Lack of knowledge leads to personal disasters. We create them for ourselves. Confrontive moments. It's kind of like, I don't know, I'm going to give you a very silly example. I don't know how to do a mail out, so I'll do nothing. I'll pretend. I don't know how to use this or that app, and I don't. I'm learning all the time. I'm sometimes very silly with all this stuff. So I'll just do nothing. And slowly, your spark for life, if I may say, if you buy in all this media hypnosis, becomes extinguished, and that's not right. I caught myself. I got out of it. I don't own a TV. Dad and I, we didn't have a TV since 2007. Just threw it out. Don't watch any of that. Remember, you have two commodities in life, and that's the next thing you saw on the slide: time and energy. Manage them wisely. Do what matters. Because they're both in short supply, my friends. They're both in short supplies. With life extension and promises of whatever's happening, how much? Okay, 130, 150. What's that in terms of you know, the infinite span of time that's real? Manage them well. Time and energy. Put your energy where it counts. Put your energy into what matters. Manage your time to what matters. Spend some time playing with your kids rather than scrolling in the media or watching brainless TV, because there's nothing than propaganda. I don't want to go into that one much because I want to talk about the next thing, which I want to absolutely share with you, is you need to develop the ability to cut out of your mind and awareness everything not useful for managing your time and energy, not useful for your focus, or what's important to you, for your goals. And I'm not talking about major long-term goals, which are important, obviously, but even for daily goals, hourly goals. I want to get this done until noon. Right? I just worked last week with the 17-year-old I was mentioning before. And by the way, he's a great hockey player talent. And one of the things he complained about was how disturbed he is to the point where he cannot sleep when he finds people talking stink about him on social media. So he couldn't sleep. He would get tired. His playing got worse. Obviously. You may say, well, it's not nice to find out about, you know, your enemies talking stink about you or taking you down, and of course this upsets you. And here is where I beg to differ. And I would like to share with you another great lesson that I learned in one mistake that I don't do anymore. And it's just my humble opinion. Take it for what it is, take it or leave it. I'm just sharing it with you. In my humble opinion, it's a great mistake to actually pay attention to what others are saying. Mark my words, you can't please everyone. You can bend over backwards, you can try, but there are some people who shall never be pleased. And there are as many reasons why people would talk stink, because he asked me, why would they do this to me? And I said, hey, there are many reasons as people are around. One of the good, as I call, you know, my acronym is JEG. Trio. Well, you know what JEG is? Jealousy, envy, and greed. That's the triad. Jealousy, envy, and greed. That's one reason. Another, because he's good. Another one is because people like to talk stink about others. Why? Because it makes them feel better in their own eyes. Oh, this is such a low life that I am better. The unspoken part, right? And the young man is really good, and he's smart, by the way, he's fast. So both motives above would count, would be possible. But that's not the point. The point I want to leave you with in this part is that by paying attention to all this negative stuff, the only one that's hurting is yourself. The only one that was hurting was himself. His colleagues or whoever was that was talking stink about him didn't care. All the negative emotions are not felt by those talking stink, but only for himself. And that's a self-defeating strategy. And if you can be in control of your life, that's a great skill. And in NLP, at least how I teach it, I call this the ability to select the minuscule amount of 126 bits out of this enormous amount of information that's all around us and we're bombarded with every day. And not let the monkey mind, because somebody has mentioned the monkey mind yesterday, right? Jump without discipline, pardon me, wherever it so pleases, because that's one of the qualities of the monkey mind. It's true. It's easier said than done, I admit. And truthfully, if your clients or students, the people you work with, people in your environment were able to do so, they would not need you because they would quit giving themselves negative suggestions. Speaking of hypnosis and suggestions, these are all suggestions. One of the speakers talked about your internal dialogue, the self-talk, which is nothing but suggestion. You're suggesting to yourself all the time. I always laugh about it. People are afraid of hypnosis. People are afraid of this. You know, I'm not going to take suggestions from anybody else. Well, you are the greatest suggestor to your mind. What thoughts are you running? Are you having the discipline of thoughts to select the 126 bits? I know your emotional thing may react. I'm talking still about this young man, right? He was emotional and deeply touched by the fact that he was attacked. To the point he couldn't sleep. At 17, he should sleep like a log. It affected him emotionally, and here comes the control. And this techniques and timeline therapy, I did timeline therapy with him, obviously. Or I did anxiety, and I did, goal setting, and we did some strategies so that it doesn't go automatically. We did switch patterns so that instead of the picture that he had, we switched that. So this is all what you know. I hope you do. And if you don't, I hope you learn. The next learning that made a difference, and I need to rush because I'm running out of time soon. I don't even know how much time I have. Is a little different. You see, I'm talking about the mindset here, but mindset is obviously very important, as I stressed, but isn't everything. Because after mindset, the next most important thing I learned was to focus on knowledge and make knowledge one of your most important values. How do you do that? Well, change values in hierarchy. Elicit your hierarchy of values in life or in career or in personal development, whatever you want, and put knowledge there. Thirst for knowledge. That's all you do, by the way. How do you want to get motivated for something? Change your values. Not rocket science. And sometimes people themselves underestimate how smart they really are. Don't be one of those. Some companies underestimate how smart the people that work there are. Oh, we are the upper management, we know, and the other people don't. Oh, rubbish. And then the companies treat people like they're like a different breed or something, and they're not. Especially if you own a small business. Tell your new employees what you expect from them. And that's going to be hard work from the beginning. And this is another lesson. If they know from the beginning how hard is the job, they won't think anything bad when you, the small business owner, ask them to deliver timely or to do what you ask them to do, because they expect it. So this was another lesson, and I learned that it's always better and easier to be transparent, even if it seems harder to tell the truth rather than embellish things. It's also easier to remember as you think of it. If you embellish truth or even use untruths, you have to make an effort to remember everything you said. Otherwise, you get in trouble. If you tell the truth, it may be unpleasant, but it's much easier. Because, as I said, it's the truth. Now, I'm not saying you tell the truth to offend people. Be careful how you say it, of course. Now, the last thing I want to share with you is having to do with your power of decision to be exceptional. When my grandmother was relentless with me, and in me learning and acquiring knowledge through a lot of hard work, obviously, I didn't get it at the time. I was grumpy, I was frustrated, I was crying, but now I do. And I'll summarize it here for you in a simple way. You can't be average and exceptional at the same time. You can't be normal, because normal presupposes, what's a norm? It's an average. I'll say this again. You can't be average and exceptional at the same time. That was another great learning I had in my over 25-year career in this field as well. So what I'm saying here is just another way of putting together what you heard, bits and pieces from all those fantastic speakers before me. May seem very different from the ways of the world. It's a different thinking, because most of the world does not think this way. Get it? Most of the world don't think this way. And makes me think of the genealogy of the Dacians and Thracians, right? Who could not be easily conquered because they were what? rebellious, oh God forbid. They didn't think or behave normally. What you heard here about timeline therapy as being unique, a unique technique or a unique set of techniques, because it's a structural process, it's not a content-driven process, yeah. By any other technique in the world about helping people to get out of victimhood, feeling sorry for themselves. Oh, we human beings are so wonderful. We are so wonderful in feeling sorry for ourselves. Me included, by the way. And if you say I'm not, spend more time in thinking. We are all very, very masterful at this. And thinking differently, not being at the effect, is not a commonly accepted viewpoint. Taking responsibility for your own life with goods and bads and everything, it's not a common viewpoint. What you heard here about hypnosis applications in all different fields and how beneficial it is. What you heard here about the utilization of language. Values level 5 redefines words. The words don't mean what you think they mean. Pay attention. The language has changed, and it keeps changing. And I'm not talking about computer language. I'm talking about the language that we're using. And you know, AI intelligence, we are comparing ourselves with AI intelligence, and you were saying, yeah, the AI is smarter than us. It's not smarter than us, it's faster. Computations doesn't mean, the computer mind is digital. That's why it's called artificial intelligence. Our minds are analog. Our minds process analogically. And if you don't know what an analogy is, go check it out. It's the ability to take a thing from one context and move it in another context. It's a, oh, we know NLP, it's very easy. It's like a mapping across. It's like a submodality change. It's like you translate a book from English into Spanish, for instance. The meaning, the message of the book remains the same. It will lose certain things from English, of course, because it's another language, and it will gain new things in the other language. But this thinking is in a way rebellious, if you wish. My ancestors, the Dacians, were not rebelling because they were nasty or they wanted something wrong or whatever. No. They were in love with freedom and peace and joy and the high arts of antiquity, but that's another story. Everything you heard here, it's a rebellious way of thinking. All of those presenters. It's like Uranus against the commonly held beliefs and limitations of Saturn, if you understand astrology. That those limitations keep common people imprisoned in their own minds. Oh, and make up your mind and stick with your decision. That's the last thing. Your capacity to make decisions fast and then stick with those decisions. One of the speakers talked about decisions. By the way, any decision is better than no decision. If you take the wrong decision, change it. Deal with it, own it. Get all the data you need. I'm not saying not to understand what you're deciding. No. That's not what I'm saying. Please don't take my words the wrong way. But once you get the data and you understand what you're deciding, once you make a decision, stick with it. Don't go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Make it work. If it doesn't, oh well. What stops you changing? Any decision is better than no decision at all. And when I left Romania, I made that decision. People ask me, don't you miss it? No, I don't. I made up my mind that my life will be somewhere else. And it was the issue of completion. It was a complete chapter. And completion, coming from ancient Hawaiian Huna, simply means nothing more to do and nothing more to say. It was done. Nothing more to add to it. And when I left my violin playing, and I had that wonderful job, I was a concertmaster in the Sydney Opera House. I don't regret it, because it was done. I was complete. I've done everything I wanted to do. And now, at the same time, remember you are human. And that's the beauty of being human. Stop trying to be perfect. You are not, and you will never be. Define perfection for me. There is no such thing. Be the best you can be every single day. So when you go to sleep at night, you have a conscience clean and you say, I've done the best I could. Tomorrow, you may discover something else that you didn't realize today. Why spend time tomorrow thinking about today? Mark talked about being the now. That's what it means. That's another example of what he was talking about. Be the best you can be in every single moment of your life. That's all you can do. And that would be exceptional, by the way, because most people don't do that. So let me simplify this again, just in conclusion. If you in this room, or maybe viewing this later on replay, you live the same person you were before you heard so many inspired stories and examples, this was probably a waste of an event for you. Your time and money, you wasted it. If you came here just to get motivated or you get something for free, but you do nothing for it, and this is about doing, and you leave and don't make any big decisions about you, changing you, going inside you and realizes what are your accomplishments, where are you good, what can you do better, what can you do to improve yourself and thus improve the world around you. This was a waste of the event, and I'm sorry to be so blunt. No, I'm not. And by the way, life doesn't get any easier as you age. I can tell you that for sure. It just gets harder. Just so you know this, life's not a game. Did you figure it out yet? It's actually not meant to be easy, my friends. Because if it would be easy, we'll end up at old age with the same mind of a baby. It's by change and progress that required effort and decisions that we grow. And life's worth living. Problems get bigger when you have kids later on. Parents, raise your hand if I'm right. Yeah. You want your kids to have a great future. Now you have responsibility for them. People older than you begin to die as you age. You learn more when, but also value of loss. More issues come up. And I hope the right group of people in this room, whether live tonight or listening on the recordings, after you heard all these fantastic speakers and amazing doers, because they are doers, they don't just sit around and talk, each and every one of them is a doer. And if you tell me, oh, let me tell you, Adriana, I'm so committed and that was so great, I enjoyed it, oh my gosh, Adriana, that was really resonated with me. I'm a very caring person, but I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. This is your show. This is not my show. This is not Candace's show. This is none of our speakers' show. Yesterday and today is your show. The boards have made this event possible for you, not for us, the speakers. So what I want to leave you with is if you go home like nothing happened and you don't use what you learn here immediately, if you leave this event making no change in your own view of life and take no new steps in changing you, and you don't get clear on who you want to be from now on, now, you wasted your time. But if you do, a high-speed train can stop you, my friends, cannot. And by the way, people will look at you differently. Some of your family members will look at your eyes, in your eyes and say, well, you look a little bit more sure of yourself. What happened? Because you know what's the one thing that never lies? Eyes never lie. Eyes move before we lie, actually. Your change tells the world where you're going next. I hope the right people here make the right decisions. And every single time in a room like this, as it is, in general, in the trainings, you know how many people are going to do this? What I'm talking about? Do you really know how many people are going to do this? We had about 200 people registered for this conference, and I know not all of them are here. Most of them will watch the replays, so will you, and so on and so forth. Out of 200 people, maybe 5 of you. Maybe 5. I'm not trying to make everybody feel good. You leave this place. Oh, what a great talk so-and-so had. That doesn't matter. What matters is you. Maybe 5 of you. It's 5 people. But those 5 people are going to live, and one day they'll be here instead of me and instead of any of the speakers. And many, many years passing. Actually, many, many years ago, as I think of it, there was a young guy that took one of my trainings, and his name was Kai. Look at who he is today and what he has accomplished. His presentation on AI capable of doing hypnosis was quite amazing. And there is Billy and Billy Quake, and all the way from Singapore, Kim from Canada, Gina from Australia, right? Eugen all the way from Romania, Ewan from the UK, Mark also from the UK. These are also all veterans in the field. You saw the others. I hope I remember everybody: Christina and Terence and Fabian and Reg and Arslan and June. And I hope I named everyone, because if I forgot everyone, forgive me, please. It's not intentional. I should have made a list, but I didn't, so there. Anyone and everybody, the impact they're making, the hard work they're putting in every single day, doesn't take everybody to do it. If 5 of you will do it, I just hope one of those 5 is you. Anyway, thank you for listening. I've been absolutely honored to be here with you, to share some of my thoughts for whatever they matter. Anyway, Candace Soft, again, thank you so much for making this conference possible. I had a great time. Thank you.
I'm sure everyone will agree with me that that was a stunning presentation with so many things to think about. And I can only thank you, Adriana, from the bottom of my heart. You know, that I recreated my own reality with help from you and Tad, and Bogdan, of course, and many other people along the way. So, you know, you're right. We put it into action, we get the results. What can I say? And it takes a lot of hard effort, yeah, a lot of hard work. And we've all put in the hard work. Yeah, I'm still rubbing aloe vera on where you kicked my ass during trainers training. But I'm better for it, right? You did not accept my limitations and you saw more.
No,
And
I don't.
it's rare that somebody does that for me. So, you know, that's a forever thing, that. I'll always be grateful. Thank you.
Somebody said yesterday that they'll be part of the NLP trainers training in Australia, and they'll hear me say the words, because I say it in every training. I trust you more than you trust yourself, and that's reality.
Yeah. And that's what we all do for our students and our clients as well. The bar is high, right? So
exactly.
That's how you improve over the years, right? Make them better than us. That'd be great.
Yes, that's the thing. Make them better than us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Are there any questions for me, my friends?
I was going to say, I'm wondering whether anyone has any questions for Adriana.
Because if you have, I'm happy to answer. I see here in the chat. Thank you for your kind comments. I really appreciate that. Yes, and that bar needs to stay high. Yeah. That's what we want to do. All right, Mark, back at you.
Thanks very much. And thank you for everything. Thanks to everyone for being here as well. And I'm just wondering if, Candace, do you need a quick comfort break before you come on?
If I may, can we get somebody to take a group photo?
A group, can I do that while I'm sharing this?
I don't know how.
You get
I mean,
ask
I
people
can
to
grab my
turn
camera and do this.
I tell you what,
Listen, Candice and Mark, can we ask everyone who's here, please turn your cameras on before we take a photo? If Christina is there, Stephen, Dylan, Deborah's there, Maria Grazia, Nagita, please turn your cameras on. Suzanne, Ahmad, Morphogenic World, please. Nagam, Billy's there somewhere. Suzanne, it'd be great to have your cameras on, please, everyone. Otherwise, we'll take a screenshot and we'll just see names in black.
We'll see nice placeholders.
I've hidden all the ones that aren't camera on. So if you want to get in, you got to turn it on. That sounds like a book. Maybe I should write it.
Yeah.
I am 15,000 words into a book because Tad told me to. Complaining that something wasn't in any of the books that he'd set me to read. So maybe it's mine. Smile. That sounds like a wrap. Yeah.
It does.
I'll take a second one because maybe you're all blinking just right at that moment. Stir wildly. I'm joking. There you go. Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Screenshot done. There's a hand up. Is that a question?
No, I'm just saying thank you.
Oh, right. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Maybe I'll be seeing some in trainers training, timeline trainers training coming up.
I do have a question. If Dr. Adriana is still there.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Hi, Dr. Adriana. Nida here.
Hi, Nida. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you. Thank you for the lovely talk. It was very inspirational. But my question from you is, like you mentioned, the genealogy, how it changes, and then over the generations it goes. We come with a lot of transgenerational trauma with cultural things from where I belong from as well, Pakistan. So you had your grandmother like pushing you to excel in certain things which you did not enjoy at that time, but now you see the benefit of them. But living that life, I'm sure there were negative outcomes of it. How did you feel those, make those conscious and overcome them, if that's possible to reply right now?
Yes, it's actually very simple. I believe you're familiar with what I'm going to say. I lived a childhood in which life in general and society was ruled by fear. Don't do this because this is the punishment. Don't do the other. Don't say this. Don't behave this way. Don't. It was filled with don'ts, which we call away froms, right? Moving away from pain, in other words, right? And when I quote unquote rebelled, the desire was to move for something positive, something toward. I am tired of being, told what not to do. Now, I believe, if I understand your question correctly, is that how did I manage to resolve the negative emotions that I felt at the time for not having a vacation, for not having time to play? One of them I had to struggle with all life, and that's physiological. And because during my teenage years, when the hormones are changing, and in the body, the physical body of every human being, because I had such a hard regimen of work, there was no weekend, there was no vacation, there was nothing. I was like, do homework and then practice the violin, and sometimes practice the violin took 8 hours a day. Not sometimes, most of the time, actually. And the rest was, doing my homework from school. And so because I didn't rest, my adrenal glands grew not weak, but very sensitive. And I encountered this problem several times in my life, which is called adrenal burnout. A really bad adrenal burnout. And I know some of you know what that means. And so then I learned to take care of my physical body. Because see, and by the way, I'm stepping outside of the realm of hypnosis alone, but we did, most of the speakers did step outside of hypnosis alone during this weekend. But if we think of it this way, you have at least 3 parts of you. Let's call them parts. I disagree with the word parts, but I don't have a better one. You have a physical body, which in many of the ancient teachings, it's called your temple. In the Hawaiian tradition, it's called hale. It's the temple. It's that in which you live. Mark mentioned that you're not your body. You're not your body. And yet you have to respect your physical body because you live in it. And then, of course, we have our what in ancient and how I teach it in schools. It's the mental body, it's the emotional body, and of course the spiritual body. So there are different parts of us, and they all differ. So I had to learn to take care of my physical body. I had to learn that I cannot go night after night after night sleeping 3, 4, 5 hours. It doesn't work. I learned to watch what I put in my body. And of course, I started like everybody else, trying this diet, trying the other diet, trying to be vegetarian. By the way, I please, if you are vegetarian, don't misunderstand me. There are people for whom being vegetarian works. For me, it almost killed me. And I did it twice.
I'm not a vegetarian.
No, I can't. It's for me. See, my theory here is that we are so different on the outside. Why do we assume that we are the same on the inside? We're not. We're not. I don't think there is one. So the more you learn your own body, the more you learn what is important to you. Like people, it's this, let me give you a little myth, yeah? Oh, you know, it's the thing that people think that especially women, think that chocolate is better than sex. Well, why do people crave chocolate? Because it's lack of magnesium. So most people in the West, at least in the Western world and in our diets, lack magnesium. Then what are the problems with magnesium? So I had to learn all this. So in a way, the life I had when I was a child, because I guess this is the point of your question, drove me to learn all this stuff. Drove me to understand, and not only understand, but to know me. Most people don't know who they are. And it's a process of learning what your body is like, what your mind is like, because you're unique. You can't take all human beings and put them into a box. That's another way of not working well hypnosis with others. And this was the point that our speakers drove through like in their talks. It's not. That's why you cannot make a box for everybody, at least until we have the chip in our heads, we can't, because we're so different, and that's the beauty of all of us. We're individuals. We have all our good parts and bad parts and things like this. So that period of time has actually helped me. Now, would I think this way without doing and learning everything I did, and especially timeline therapy? Probably not. Because I was a great victim when I left Romania. Romanians are great victims, by the way. We are really great victims. We know how to be victims, I promise you. But with timeline therapy, I realized that wasn't empowering. It's easy to blame somebody, or it's far harder to take responsibility for all your screw-ups. I did screw up massively, and so did you, and so did everybody else. We all do that. But that's how we learn. We don't learn and everything's hunky-dory, and we don't progress, we don't develop. And if we don't develop, why are we here?
So you use those to get conscious of those that genealogy that was transferring through generations, and then you took control of it and changed
you change it around. Not only take control, but you change it around. You transform your whole timeline.
Take direction.
So that genealogical strands are not affecting you. Listen, I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm saying this with all the disclaimers in the world. But I've seen people change their timeline coming from a diabetic family generationally, at least 4 generations that they knew. And the woman changed her timeline. She wasn't ever a diabetic, and her kids were not diabetic anymore. Now, what's that tell you about genetics versus genealogy? But that's changeable, you see. And that's one of the, you can see how passionate I'm about it. I'm getting, because when I see people doing that, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and probably that's why you're doing what you're doing. That's why you're driven to this field.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for your answer. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
No one else have any questions at all?
I've taken already too much time, so I think Candace wants to give us a break, and then probably the competition. A break or no break, Candace? Do you need break? Whatever. You take control. I'm off.
5 minutes. 5 minutes. I'm the ringmaster. We get 5 minutes. All right. See you all in 5. Thank you again.